Okay, so the other day I got a message from another user saying that another user went ahead and asked me a question in their 7th knapsack packing video. And that is where I get my sources of information for my knapsack packing. Now, first of all, I want to say that how I pack my knapsack is not the standard. Everyone keeps on acting like this should be the standard of how you pack your knapsack. Really, there is no standard of doing it. This is how I do it based on my research. So I'm going to go ahead and tell you exactly what I have used for my research and how I pack my knapsack. First things first, I started off actually progressing into the hobby reading Life of Billy Yank and Life of Johnny Reb. I read those two books. Those gave me a basic understanding of what the Civil War soldier was like after and what he would have had when he was in the field and some of the experiences he would have had to have endured. The next book, or the next thing that I read, was Knapsack and Haversack Packing 101 by Kevin O'Beirne. I read that article, and in that article they have a few examples of soldiers, like what they would have actually had to carry. And one of them, Chancellorsville Campaign, they actually were ordered, there was a general order, I forgot what number it was, for that, where they had to carry 11 days marching rations, including 100 rounds of ammunition. Now, 11 days of marching rations, that's about 100 pieces of hard bread on top of, if you're getting 3/4 of a pound of bacon a day, that's a lot of food you got to carry. So another reason why I keep my top bag open, because it's just less. And that brings me to the next one, the article that I had, Less is More by Silas Tackett. Yes, it's a little bit dated, but it's the same idea and premise is really, really good, where less is more. You don't need as much when you're out there, and it becomes so much easier when you're working with other people. So doing it by yourself, yeah, it's a little tough though, but it can be done. I've done it before. I am perfectly comfortable at any event with the stuff that I bring, and when I go to an event, if I'm doing a regular private impression, that knapsack and haversack is all I'm taking with me. So besides my other stuff I need to be a soldier. And then after that, there was hardtack and coffee. When the general commanding an army had decided upon a plan of campaign and the proper time came to put it in operation, he at once issued his orders to his subordinate commanders to have their commands ready to take their place in column at a given hour on a given day. These orders came down through various corps, division, brigade, regimental, or battery headquarters to the rank and file, whose instruction given them online will be to the effect that the stated hour that they were ready to start with 3 days' rations in their haversacks. This was the usual quantity. The infantry to have 40 rounds of ammunition in their cartridge boxes. This latter quality was very often exceeded. The Army of the Potomac went into the wilderness having from 80 to 100 rounds of ammunition to a man, stowed away in knapsacks, haversacks, or pockets according to the space afforded, and 6 days' rations similarly disposed of. When Hooker started on the Chancellorsville campaign, 11 days' rations were issued to the troops. Yes, you could probably go ahead and try to put, I don't know, say, 6 or extra ammo in your haversack, but I'm not going to put my ammunition with my greasy food. You could put the ammunition in your pockets. I sweat, as so do other people. I don't want to get my ammunition wet. I've had stuff before where it has gotten wet in my pockets. And even if it rains or something, I've been through times where I just get soaked to the bone. So it doesn't offer me the best protection moisture-wise in my pockets. I don't get the best grease protection while it's in my haversack. Plus, there has been some times where it's been a really, really bad downpour and everything inside my haversack has been soaked. So, the next place that I would probably go ahead and put it is my knapsack. The person who posed the question went ahead also and said in another video previous to the last one that they made that they saw a video online of a knapsack exploding with ammunition in there. I asked that person to please show me where this video was, because I've never seen it. I have looked online for it, cannot find it. I've asked other people, other reenactors, and I never even really heard of something like this before, and I could see the reason why now, because I asked some reenactors who have been reenacting longer than I've been living. I'm 28, by the way, and they asked, I asked them about that, and all they did was just laugh, and then said they haven't heard something like that since the 80s. So, nice dated farbism. I also asked the person to please, show me reference to this. They never came through. They still haven't. But yet they're still claiming that it could happen. And just a little bit of information for you. Black powder ignites at 300 degrees centigrade. And if you do your math, that's about 600 degrees Fahrenheit. A little over 600 degrees Fahrenheit. Well, if your knapsack is at events getting to 600 degrees, it would melt. The paint would not be able to stay on there. It would melt and flake off. So I don't know where you're doing your reenactments at. Maybe Venus, but 600 degrees, it's not going to get that hot in the sun. And it needs an actual spark and not just temperature. It needs a spark. So unless you're putting sparklers in your knapsack too, that's the only thing. So until you show me that video, I'm going to call shenanigans on you. Alright, so you've got my information, where I got it from. And then there's also one last part of info on my knapsack packing and how I do it. I actually would go out for long marches on my own time, usually about 9 to 10 miles, and I'd go ahead and with all my gear, everything, just march around, gun, everything. I can do that out here. I kind of live out in the middle of nowhere, and I live in a very, very hilly area. Not the best terrain. So I would go out and I would see exactly what worked best for me. And the thing that worked the best for me was lightening my load. Getting rid of stuff. Same thing at reenactments. I go to a reenactment, I don't use it, out of my knapsack it goes. So that's really just all the information that I need to get my knapsack packed the way it is. So there's one more thing though that I also do want to say. I have had a little bit of an out with this person because when I first started putting videos out, the person asked me for a whole bunch of info. I obliged. I gave him some info, and I told him that if he wanted to look more into it, he's going to have to do some research himself. That's just sort of the thing that happens. I cannot sit there and spoon feed people information. No person who has done as much research and everything as I have has the time to usually do it, because, especially for me, my life is so involved with everything else. I have school. I'm a full-time student. I work a part-time job, and at the same time I'm also trying to start up my own part-time business making gear for Civil War reenactors. I also have to make my own gear for this season too. I'm doing a few different new impressions, so I have to make gear to kind of get ready for it. I don't have the time to sit there and spoon feed information. And I'm not the first person that this person has come up to and asked for that. There's other people out there too in the hobby. This person claimed to be part of a mess out in Michigan, and my friend went ahead. I talked to my friend about this, and he kind of knows the guys a little bit, and he emailed those guys and asked them about this user who claims to be part of their group. Well, they said no, he's not part of their group, and if anything, he comes to them whenever they go to mainstream events. He comes up to them asking them where to buy the best gear, which could easily be found through a simple search in a forum. And he also asked about a few other little random questions. They are in the reply back. They said that that this certain user will hunt and pack little bits of information and then fill in the blanks himself, which I've noticed that, and it's pretty ridiculous, and that's why I was having a little bit of an issue with them, because if you're going to be presenting information to other people, you got to have your facts straight. And Yankee Boy, I'm sorry buddy, but you don't all the time. One of the things you said in one of your videos, your Garrison encampment video, which I laughed my butt off so hard after I heard the first 30 seconds, right away you go into it and say, tell people to get rid of their canteen half because you would have been issued a tin plate. No. Tin plates, any sort of equipment, issuances, etc., really didn't happen that often. It's got the Company of Military Historians approval. It's by Frederick P. Todd. Really great book. It's got a lot of good info in it. Now we're going to go back to this section, past canteens, to page 217, mess equipment. So, and there's the text. In the period of our study, enlisted soldiers were expected to prepare and cook their own rations. It was also expected that they would supply the equipment for doing so, except for 2 items: camp kettles and mess pans. Iron pots were furnished in place of camp kettles to troops in garrison. The men, therefore, owned a variety of mess gear that, except on occasions, was neither regulated nor even standardized. So, basically what that's telling us is that soldiers were responsible to get their own stuff. And that is the majority of the time. Unless you actually have a specific thing and you're doing a specific impression of a specific unit at a specific time and know of that, then yeah, that's fine. But if you're doing average, no. You know, they would have come into camp. Some of them would have come into camp with tin plates. Some of them would come into camp with canteen halves. Some of them would have had frying pans, and some of them would not have had much at all. You know, that there's so many different things with that. But to go ahead and say that, you know, throw away your canteen half because you're going to be issued that, number one, no, this is just not true. Because last summer I went to White Oak Museum in Fredericksburg, or just outside of Fredericksburg, Virginia. Great place, awesome museum, had a blast there. The museum has probably one of the largest collections of dug artifacts. Now, these dug artifacts are not from battlefields. Of course, some might be, I'm not sure, but majority of the stuff was all dug from campsites. And the whole area around there was all Civil War campsites, you know, especially in the Fredericksburg area. And I asked him, I asked the guy, because one of the things I did not notice in his thing at all were canteen halves. I asked him where the canteen halves at. And he says, that's the one thing I don't really find too often, are canteen halves. But yet you still have so many references to the use of these things. So my thing would be that, my guess would be that soldiers did use them. And because they weren't throwing away in camps, otherwise the dumps would have been completely filled with canteen halves if, you know, if Yankee Boy was right. You know, I'm sorry, there's just, you know, there's no evidence supporting what you're saying. So there's a lot of other things, though, too, that are just far too numerous that I don't want to go into because I don't want to waste my time. I'm a busy guy, you know, and I don't appreciate the fact that, you know, you keep on pestering me with the stuff and you keep on harping on it. You know, I made a video and I did it right. You had to take like 7 chances or just to get it right. And even then, you still badmouthed my way. And if I'm not mistaken, where most of my information I get from is from an article in a book that supposedly your unit says you're supposed to read. I wanted to end with saying that there's been one person on YouTube who's been going around and harassing other users. I don't know who that is. It's not me. I have too busy of a life to actually go ahead and bother with petty crap like that. So, what I was told by other users, that the first person to start claiming who it was Yankee Boy, saying it was me. Dude, seriously, it wasn't me. And do not reference me in any of your videos. Do not mention my name. Do not do anything. Seriously, just leave me alone. Because all you've been doing, if anything, the one person who's really been harassed the most is me. And that's been by your private messages, which, you know, if you want me to one of these days, I could do a video and tell everybody all the nasty stuff you said about me, buddy. So, and if anything, I was nice and cordial to you, but yet you go ahead and we're just so easy to jump the gun and tell me to, well, F off. So, yeah, quit acting childish. And if anything, this, you know, all this stuff after I said I wouldn't unblock you, you went ahead and, you know, made your little get back at you knapsack video, and then this person pops up and you're the first person to say that it was me. Well, it obviously seems like you have a vendetta against me, and then to automatically blame me for something like this looks a little fishy. If anything, could have possibly been you.